In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right, welcome to CPS Victims Hunting for Justice. I am your host, CPS Punisher. Tonight we are running way behind. I apologize about that, but again, devils strike us in our technology. But we're here and we're about ready to report on some more of this corruption that CPS has puts us into. This whole week we have been talking to people who have been definitely suppressed by this government entity that we call CPS. They have had their rights just taken away from them or not even exhibited. They have been just pummeled by the system, and it's not right. These are the kids that are supposed to be our future. These are the families that are supposed to be raising these kids. And what kind of example are we leading for these children when they are not even going to know what their own safety net is? CPS goes about it all the wrong way. We're not saying that there's not a reason to have a child protective unit, but this unit needs to go away. The way that it's handled, right from the bottom to the top to the White House, this unit needs to go away. It's all based on Title IV funding, which is solely based on reunification. But what kind of bases reunification is a 12% success rate? So tell me how they're getting billions and trillions of dollars from reunification when they're only doing it 12% of the time. That leads to have some questions. They don't care what your family is. They don't care who you are. They don't care what color you are. They don't care anything about that. What they care about is what your kid can get for value, and that's a fact. They don't care about the safety of your kid. They don't care about the safety of your family, because if they did, we'd have a whole bunch of happy people in this country going through rehabilitation programs, people with their kids at home, Christmases that are smiling. They're not about commercialism. You'd have all kinds of things, but we don't have that right now. And I'm going to say that's because of CPS. So tonight I got my panel with me. We got Melissa and the law enforcement guru here. Mr. Herbert, how are you doing, guys?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
Good. Melissa,
how you doing?
We're doing all right. Sorry about the delay tonight. Melissa, you had court today.
Yeah, it got continued.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yep, we all got in there. Well, actually, I think my attorney described it best. He says, I rented the limousine, I put on my dress, I got ready for the prom, and I got stood up at the door.
Man.
Because we got all the way into the courtroom, we all sat down, organized our books, got ready to go forward, and there is a precedent-setting case in our state that actually directly applies to our case. So because it's a constitutional argument, we have to bring in the state AG's office. or at least give them the right to enter. Because our state, they use private attorneys to represent the department. They don't use prosecutors. So when you make a constitutional argument, they then have to ask the state attorney's office to be present. Now, 9 times out of 10, they send a notice, say, okay, well, we trust you to handle it. Have a good day, go on about your business, but you still got to serve notice.
So they again put you back at waiting game.
Yep.
They didn't know that this was that they needed to do this.
Well, so the argument just got posted today, but because we made a constitutional argument, now we really get to hand them their ass. Because you remember how the Court of Appeal says a constitutional argument has to be made in the trial court before it can be made in the appellate court? Well, since the one case law, I believe I may even sent you the case law. It's an Alabama law that helps fathers like JR. Well, anyway, since that law requires the state AG's office to be brought in, dude, we're opening up. Remember the case law for void ab initio from Alabama that I sent you? The ex parte TC? Okay, so the way it's done, being that Richard says he wants to make constitutional argument. Well, he has to prepare a brief, just like a writ of mandamus, okay, for the judge of his constitutional argument. And the opposing sides have to file their response. And then we get to file our response. So in my response, I'm arguing the void ab initio.
Very nice. Very nice.
And
we've been preaching ab initio since day one.
Well, and here's the thing about it. If we go the void ab initio route, I'm the second case, therefore it's precedent setting. If we go the other route, we're the second case, therefore it's precedent setting. So no matter what argument we make, if we win it, and if we win both arguments, it don't matter. It's precedent setting.
Awesome. That'll be a big blow it'll be a big victory for anybody that's.
Well, it'll be a big blow to the state, period. Right. You know, it will demolish those arguments in our state, but because the first part of the case on JR's was originally argued in the federal court, that's a big national blow that we're tying void ab initio to the cohabitation law.
Just the void ab initio. That's. I've been preaching this day one. I even know that you've been a good advocate of it. I mean, that's where it all lies, and we need to come up with a solution for the people. That this thing needs to be so vague that this is very simple. I've said that for a long time. You know that it's right in front of us, and I think like you've gotten it. We've gotten it. The void ab initio is going to be where a lot of these people find their sanctity. To save them in these court cases. They look into this void ab initio, talk to your lawyers about it, people. Ask them, because a lot of the things that you guys have, void ab initio means from the start. That means that everything that comes from the beginning. Right.
And we're arguing a violation of due process and a violation of procedure from the start.
From the start. So that means that everything of it. So if you got restraining orders, if you got anything that took place from the beginning of your case that move forward, this means that you have that completely wiped out because it's void from the start. Check out the ab initio for sure, people. Talk to your lawyers about it. Your lawyers will probably give you a little bit of fret with it because they don't seem to like it so much.
Well, they don't understand it. And honestly, most attorneys just don't want to practice law. Let's be for real about it. They like their half-ass effort, and all their excuses. you pay a $5,000 retainer. The attorney should be on the spot to get started, to start making his arguments.
Mm-hmm.
These attorneys that we're dealing with nowadays, you give them $5,000, they look at you like, okay, well, maybe we'll get around to it in a month or two.
Yeah, let alone if you got a court-appointed attorney. My our guest tonight that will be here in a second. Wait till you hear about her story. I mean, you'll just hear yourself. But hey, Herbert, I found a clip today that I'm going to play with you for in a second. But hold on, wait a minute, Melissa. So what's next, though? Now you just wait again?
Well, so we have to serve judicial notice on the state attorney general's office, which Richard's going to go ahead and prepare. And like I say, most likely they'll waive the appearance, but I don't know, because of the fact that the case that we argued is still currently in the federal appeal court. They may actually make their presence known, because it could be a big blow if that case goes ass backwards and ours goes through. It opens up a whole second fight for it. So, but we will reconvene in court the 18th of next month. Remember how I told you about the corrupt director that got fired?
Yeah.
They even brought her in to testify today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they broke out all the guns.
Man, just throwing fire at you, huh?
Hey, that's fine. She testified that we were in the right, so.
Beautiful. I still don't, it just doesn't make any sense why your kids didn't come home today. I mean, it's just another, how many continuances is this?
12. No, sorry, 13. Because the last one filed by Anthony was 12.
Right. That's just absolutely asinine. For no reason that your kids should be gone.
Well, it's because they don't have a case, and they don't know how to fight it because they don't have a case.
If they don't have a case, your kids should be at home.
Yeah, well, I've been doing my due diligence to alienate the fosters from the worker. And you'll like this one. Today, on the paperwork, because you know how, like, at the beginning of a case, the attorney hands out a case summary? Well, in the case summary, it says the only outcome for the kids is family placement. It no longer says adoption by foster.
Good. That's awesome.
Okay.
So it's back to reunification?
No, it's not reunification. It's placement with family. Same as your cousin.
Gotcha.
Okay, but I had to call and tell the foster that so that she could understand that the reason the department's been so quiet is they're getting ready to steal the kids away from her and shove them off into no man's land.
At least this now gives, at least you're protected now to a degree, because at least it'll be with family. Now, whether that family is someone that you prefer or not, that's a whole nother argument.
Hey, Darren, to be frank about it, I don't even have family. It's just a couple of my friends. It's my friend in Michigan, my friend in Florida.
Well, I mean, hopefully,
and they don't want my kids. Right. They just don't want the state to have them.
Right. Well, that's the thing, and that's the scary thing is where it would be next. Then like where it would be.
Well, now the Morrisons have said they will work with me on every front. They don't want to replace me as a parent because she's known as Aunt Gigi to the kids. So she doesn't try to replace the parental being. Right. But because of all the bullshit in my case, they're actually walking away from being fosters. 2 families. They are now turning down all kids. They are walking away because of the corruption in my case.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people doing that when they got into this because they wanted to foster children, and just because of the stuff that they've dealt with as a foster parents, they don't do this anymore either. They just said it's too much heartache, it's too much pain, it's too much, it's just too much, especially with the licensing and all of that they're making them do. Going on with the CPS lies thing, though, I want to play this video. You guys are going to get a kick out of this one. This goes with a police officer, and this is just a little clip it of a CPS worker getting owned with the lies. It's pretty cool. Melissa, you know, false reports are like the number one thing that they like to do. So wait till you get a catch of this here.
Right.
Questions, Mr. Portman? Why not? Okay, well, I would like to do that with you. I would like to set up an appointment as soon as possible. This is Tiffany. I'm Chris.
You're not going to have this discussion. So.
Well, I mean, you will eventually.
You can
because
do it however you want to do it with your recordings. That's fine, but I'm not having this discussion with you.
this is our business.
We've already had it before. We already provided you the answer.
No, you didn't. You didn't hear me out.
Yeah. Okay.
You didn't hear me out.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the end of it.
So, yeah, that's the end.
Abuse and neglect, you can call
I'm
the
sorry?
hotline, you can make a report.
Attack? There was no attack, ma'am. I have it all recorded.
Yeah.
Really, the only way I can force them to leave is to trespass them if they refuse, and I think we can get. So.
Yeah, well then I guess that's what we're gonna do.
But I mean, we didn't break any laws.
It doesn't matter.
We're here to
This is
conduct
a-
official business with
Does the state
It doesn't matter.
tax-paid money.
We've got
I mean,
other
it's,
stuff going on.
It doesn't matter, okay?
Why
They can
not?
trespass anybody they want from this property. Okay, so even though you pay into taxes, doesn't mean you have stock in
this is a
building.
public facility.
So are you saying Thornton's is public? So are you saying Thornton's is public?
So are you saying Thornton's is public?
Somebody owns this building and it's not you, correct?
Yes, actually tax money, right? Isn't this officially?
You're wrong. Okay. So
Why
they can
not?
trespass anybody they want from this property for
That's
no
fine.
reason. My name is right here. My name is right here.
Me?
Don't even
Yeah.
conversate with him anymore.
Me?
Don't even
Yeah.
conversate with him anymore.
So are you prohibiting me from requesting my report? I
Yes.
have to do in person.
Then I would call the Indian enforcement.
We have. We've actually got a lawsuit going against us.
Okay. Then you probably have no other business here. If you've already
No, we
taken it to
are.
a
This is
lawyer-
the business for the lawyer.
And we,
But if you've taken it to a lawyer, then he needs to start doing this stuff, not you guys.
We're going to court for custody in a week.
That's how it has to be dealt with.
Well, yeah, but no, they have to give us the service we pay for. So
Your lawyer can subpoena those records, so that's. how
it's
you
not
go
a
about
record. It's an overturning
it. I'm not gonna argue
appeal.
with you guys.
Well, you don't understand.
at this,
I'm not even arguing anymore. We've been arguing anymore.
Can't?
No,
Okay.
you need to leave.
So we're being trespassed from
You are
public.
being trespassed. You need to go.
Okay.
You
You
guys
won't
are
give us.
trespassed, so
You guys are trespassed, so. You guys are trespassed, so.
you need to leave.
There you have it, folks. You have no amendment rights as long as the tyrants are around. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to abolish these tyrants when it comes to doing what they're doing and keeping us from our amendment rights. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to film them. We're going to call them out. And we're going to make them do the right thing one way or another. Peacefully, obviously, but the more of you who pick up a camera and address your grievances per your First Amendment right, the less that this shit is going to happen. Now, in this situation, 2 children have been unlawfully kidnapped by abuse of the system. And what we're trying to do is address that with a grievance. We filed the grievance. And we had to appeal the grievance because they did not conduct a proper investigation. So we filed with Ombudsman. Ombudsman is going to be the filing process for a grievance on them, not on the situation, but on the Department of Child Services themselves. So we followed through with that process as well. And all we were doing was what we were told to do. We were told to go back to the director's office and address our grievance on the case with him. And as you could see, they immediately resorted in calling the police and having us escorted out so that we could not file a grievance on our appeal.
And they also prohibited me from getting my paperwork.
And they wouldn't even allow us to make an appointment at our local office in which we pay taxes for. That is a 14th Amendment violation, folks. And they did it right on top of just shitting on the first, and you saw it. Camera rolling. Jacksonville City Police Department. It didn't matter what we were showing or saying, and we had the best. This is the best evidence you could ever possibly ask for. It's audio and video. It does not lie.
Yeah.
All I had to do was turn it around for her and play it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Herbert, I want to bring you up on that one, buddy. What'd you think of that? What'd you think of that overall clip there, my friend?
Well, I was trying to make heads or tails of it. I mean, it was not that clear to me. I was listening to the part about the trespass in the building. I was trying to understand that the person went in to file paperwork, and they were asked to leave. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it was a government building?
Correct.
Okay. And the police were called. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. And the police interviewed the individual and interrogated the situation and determined that they had to leave because the building manager or the director didn't want them in there for whatever reason.
But they were telling them, is that all right for the police to remove them from trespass them from the building without any sort of reason? What does it take to get a trespass order?
There had to be some immediate reason why the supervision or the building manager
So-
wanted them removed.
Can I kind of chime in on that? Because I actually have some answers for you on that one. Just because JR sits around and he watches First Amendment auditors all day long. One, they did not have to give their name whatsoever. Two, the threat of arrest. Not even the argument of the threat of arrest. You know, like they don't actually have to be arrested. But if they say that I'm arresting you, I'm trespassing you, that's been ruled by the U.S. federal level Supreme Court to be unconstitutional, a violation of 6 different amendments, and they can be sued for about $35,000. Because I'm watching guys get rich off that very same argument every day.
So what you're saying is that when a person says, "I want you to leave my facility,"
If it
And they don't wanna leave.
if it is a government-owned facility, in other words, a taxpayer facility, they cannot trespass you from the public areas.
okay,
Is that true?
never heard about that before, because people get arrested and they take it to court, and the courts make the decision.
Right, and in that situation, you tell them, fine, arrest me. Please do.
Right.
I will be filing
Yes.
suit. Because the best
Right.
thing they can do for you is to trespass you or arrest you. Because either one of the two is going to wind up in an immediate overturning. The prosecutor, when it gets to the prosecutor is going to dismiss it. Because the prosecutor understands the violation.
But
That works for me.
now he's in that courtroom. He's supposed to be getting these papers to file a grievance. Now, how is he to do that since they've thrown him out of there? And Herbert, what about the police giving?
But I wanted to know. I wasn't clear. I couldn't see the video and hear it that clearly. But like I said, it seems like it was a trespass situation. They went in there to file some paperwork, and why were they asked to leave?
I believe it was because they were filming.
Well, see,
Oh,
here's
because
the
they were
thing.
filming?
Yes, they were thrown out because they were filming. Because that's what they do to all the First Amendment auditors. Like, that's the whole big to-do. As long as they are in a public area, or if the building is marked no phones allowed, they can film outside of the building. But if you're allowed to take your phone in the court or electronic devices into the court, you are allowed to film in the public area. Now, inside the actual
Okay.
courtroom itself is at the discretion of the judge.
Okay, so they were in a public area. We don't know whether there was a sign outside saying no phones allowed.
Well, they obviously had their phone in there, so I would assume they're not. Otherwise, you don't make it past the metal detectors.
Well, I didn't see metal detectors.
Trust me, they got them. They all got them.
Okay. What I saw when the guys were walking out, they just walked outdoors. But the bottom line is they were asked to leave because they were in there with their phones. Is that correct?
They were
Okay.
asked to leave because they was recording with their phone.
Gary says some states are passing laws giving a set distance where you can film from at these buildings.
Well, they're arguing policies, okay? And I know what they're talking about because there's been quite a few different videos that he's watched where they get on there and they say our judge, our city, our town has passed a policy. And then the auditors get up and they say, okay, well, you passed a policy, but I'm following federal law. And federal law trumps policy. But yeah, no, we watch those like all day long because that's JR's favorite thing to watch is a bunch of people pissing off cops.
Right, right. But that's just crazy. And this is important information because you can't you can't you can't let these people not be accountable for what they're doing. And filming is a great way to keep these people on their toes. It's paying attention. Which I mean, we watched that one video where we watched the court actually forged those documents. Herbert, remember? So those people, if they didn't have that video camera in there that day, we would have never known that they did that. So this stuff needs to be. Now I agree that there are some situations that probably aren't meant to be recorded. Personal situations such as actions if they're not involving you or things like that. And I think that should be just common sense and the good of your heart, how you feel about things. But overall, I mean, the people work for the government, or the government work for the people, and they need to be kept in check. And what better way to keep them in check but to videotape them? Hold them accountable for what they're doing.
Sure. Sure. I don't have a problem with that. But, the courts have to pass it down to the police officers to not respond to calls like that.
Right. Hey, Melissa, Carrie says, please say he doesn't watch Chili. I don't know what Chili is. But Carrie says, please say that he doesn't watch it. Melissa just must have lost service there for a second. She'll come right back, Carrie, and get that answer for you. So yeah, I just wanted to play that little snippet. I want to see what you thought about the filming in the public place and how the police officer dealt with that situation and what they did. I didn't so much as the legal advice that they were saying that the court was giving that, but
see, once the person says, "I want this individual trespass," we do the paperwork up. We have the person leave the building, and it's between that individual that said, "I want this individual trespass," and that individual in a courtroom. My job is just to go in there and ask that person to leave. They refuse to leave, they'll be arrested for trespass. But their arrest is based on the person who is making the complaint. Example, I walk into a Walmart and a Walmart manager says, "I want this person out of my store." And they explain why. I'm not going to argue with the Walmart manager. I'm just going to say, "Oh, fine. You're the one filing the complaint. Bingo. We're going to have the person removed because you're the one that's going to go to court."
Right. So,
I'm not going to make a judgment on anything like that. That's not my job. My job is to go there, file a report, and follow up on what the person wants done. You want them out of the store? You want them arrested? What do you want? You going to press charges? You don't want to press charges? There's not much I can do.
Right. But in a public building,
I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to touch this person.
Right. But in a public building, that just seems like it's a crash situation.
I understand, but in a public building, you have a building manager or somebody, and for whatever reason, they want that person taken out of the building. We will come, have the person removed from the building. We'll try to negotiate, try to develop the meeting of the minds, to figure out what's going on. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, they want them out, they're going to be out.
Right. So
then that person could turn around, go to court, and argue their point, and possibly win against the individual that said they wanted them out of the store.
And then that'll be the way that's handled.
Or shall I say, out of the public building?
Right. But it's just now how do they go about moving forward and getting their paperwork and all that. So I just thought it was an interesting little take because that was a lot of police that we don't get to see, and I know that you do a good job analyzing what they're doing and how they're doing, and I think that's important for people to understand their rights and the things that they should be able to do. That's why I had selected that to watch and for you to analyze.
Anybody has a right to be in a public place like a store or building or whatever until somebody of authority says you have to leave. You can argue with, what do you mean? Why do you want me to leave? And you could go bickering back and forth, but once police are called in and they said, I want him trespassed. That means they are the complainant. They're complaining, they're the complainant that's signing their name to the complaint of trespass. Then it goes to court.
And then that's it. So we found that out. We can do
Yeah.
whatever we want until they say we got to go. All right. So Herbert, I got a friend of mine here. I'm going to bring out. This will be the first time that she's come out and talked about her story. But you remember I was telling you about the other day, that good mom that never, she worked her ass off for her kids her whole life and so on. The kids were, I believe, they're 15 and 17. She's here.
Okay.
I want you to hear more or less about what she says about the way that her lawyer treated her, the way that she got in, not so much what happened there with her kids and everything. I want her, where we have just a little bit of time, I want you to hear about how her lawyer treated her. So, Herbert, with no more avail, this is my friend Michelle right here. She's got a little copy.
Hi, Michelle.
Michelle, when was your case?
My case started just before COVID quarantine. I think it was January, right before COVID quarantine happened. So I was staying with a friend. Actually, it was my son's.
I can't hear Michelle too well.
Oh, okay. We'll get her closer to here.
Okay. So we were staying with a friend, and there was I guess her daughter had moved back into the house, and she had brought her boyfriend with her, and I didn't know that the boyfriend was there. But anyways, my son had been staying with my brother, and he was a wicked mama's boy, so he wanted to come and stay with me for the night. So I let him.
Right straight ahead. That's it. Right straight ahead.
So anyways, I caved and I let him come and spend the night with me, and we spent the whole night watching movies and cuddling. I guess the boyfriend had a warrant, so the police came in the house the next day. Austin and I were literally putting our shoes on to leave that day, and they came in the house, they raided it, they arrested everybody in the house except for me. They told me I was a piece of shit parent, literally, and they took my son, and the next night they shipped him off to the other side of the state, 3 hours away, and they gave me this lawyer who was about 80 years old and not interested at all at helping me, and she basically was a shill for them. Every time that we would recess or anything in court, she'd be talking about being with the other team instead of talking to me about my case. It got to the point where it was time for me to testify or not die, and I wanted to discuss that option with her, and it was a big problem for me to ask for a 2-minute recess to do that. So she never notified me when we had conference calls or anything. Lack of communication was ridiculous. They ended up substantiating 2 things. They wanted me to get an apartment job. I had just lost my job just before quarantine, lost our apartment, and so during COVID quarantine, when the government's literally nobody's moving, I'm supposed to find a job and get a new place to live. And they gave me 9 months to do that, and no extensions. I actually had an accident during that time too. Couldn't walk for a few months. Didn't get any extensions for that or any deference for any of that. And they adopted my son out when he was 17. And now he wants nothing to do with me. They basically convinced him that I didn't fight for him and that I didn't want him. So,
That sucks. That's how many times did your lawyer get in touch with you?
None.
How long between the time that they took your kid into the lawyer? How long did it take for the lawyer to get into it?
I got in touch with her at court.
At court? Your first court hearing?
First court hearing, yeah.
So you didn't even to be substantiated? You had nobody represent you?
They wanted me. They had what's called a fair meeting when they take your kid and place it somewhere within the first 7 days or something. They're supposed to have a fair meeting, which is ridiculous, to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And the woman who had my son said, first, I just want to start out by saying what a great job you've done with him. He's a wonderful kid. He has great manners. He doesn't complain, this and that. He does everything I ask him to do. You've done a great job with him. And I said, oh, all right, well, that's great to hear that he knows how to use manners outside of the house. But, I thought we were here to talk about me being a neglectful parent. And then the CPS worker came in and she said, so when's the last time Austin had a physical? And I said, well, 2 months ago. And here's his doctor's name and number. He's not the same person his whole life. And she said, all right, well, how about the dentist? Okay, well, he just went there last week, actually. So here's their number, you know, and she was like shocked that I had done all of these things for her. I said, of course I did.
Right.
He's my son.
He wasn't short of anything.
Nothing.
that
He was
should have
not
been-
deficient on anything.
Right.
The only thing is he was in that home with me the night the police came through. And
Right, because he was all set. You were also
that was his best friend's parents' house.
Right.
And his best friend lived with us for 4 years. We know
All
his
the time.
family.
Right.
They just happened to let their daughter stay there with her new boyfriend. And because of that, I lost my son.
Yep.
And now he hates me. So
Right. And before
he
that,
just turned 18. They actually had him call me before the adoption, and they said, he said, Mom, they told me to tell you that if you fight the adoption and you lose, you won't speak to me till I'm 19. But if you don't fight it, you just let everything go through, I can talk to you again at 18. I said, oh, so nobody can tell you what to do after 18. He
right.
said, Mom, that's all I can talk about. That's the only time we were allowed to talk about the case. Other than that, if we talked about coming home or anything, we were hung up on.
Yeah.
And during quarantine, they stopped doing visits. They stopped, and they said basically that I gave up on it.
Right, clearly you did not.
Yeah, and they told my daughter that she would be 18 in 3 months, so they were going to leave her alone because they wouldn't have enough time to change her mind before she turned.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely.
So.
Why?
And she said, change my mind about what? That we want to move on because you're never going to.
What did they use against you for evidence in there to say that you were a
that I didn't have, that we had lost our home and I lost my job.
Yeah, but they're supposed to, if that's the case, Title IV funding says that they're supposed to help you with services. They did what? Nothing, right?
No.
Nothing would tell you to get a job and do these things
Get it
in a
done
time that.
when I couldn't even walk.
Right, because you had that the accident with your foot.
Yeah, I was lost.
That's freaking, I can't believe
Yeah,
that they do this. To know that you had a lawyer that did nothing for you.
She was my mom's lawyer for 20 years ago when my brothers had kids petitions and they were younger, and she was useless then. She's just.
She just didn't care.
Yeah, she didn't care at all.
You know?
Not one bit. I actually had a breakdown after that first court hearing in the lobby, and she walked by me. I was, just another person.
Did you ever try to get a different lawyer?
I did try to get online and try to get my own lawyer, but I didn't have the money, obviously, to get my own, and I didn't know if you could request another one from the state. There was literally no communication.
How long did it take?
My emails and everything. There's nothing.
How did it take you to go through that process?
The whole process, they told me I had 9 months.
9 months from the day they took you to get all that done. That doesn't even meet the guidelines and records.
They said that New Hampshire had passed a law that said that from the time a child is taken, you have 12 months before they're adopted out, and because the judge wanted to see 3 months of sustained, sustaining the conditions that he requested or whatever, that it had to be at 9 months or it was a done deal.
So it wasn't even. So the judge comes in and says it's got to be 3 months showing. So now even the allotted time that's short that you're getting anyway is already cut way shorter. Now this is a 15-year-old kid, Herbert, that's been with his mom his whole life.
I was there. His own. I mean,
he had no other. He had other people besides him. He had his mom. And that was it. They come because one night the place that she was at, this boyfriend was at, and because of that, CPS comes and takes this woman's kids.
I raised them by myself.
Your voices are coming. Your voices are kind of gobbling up. I'm hearing bits and pieces.
Well, what do you think of that, Herbert?
Not much to think. I only go by the bits and pieces I heard. One thing is, why were the police coming in the house for a warrant? What was that about?
I don't know. They came in the house. They said they were there for him, and it was his warrant. And they went through the whole house. But he was living in the living room, I guess. They had just moved in there a day or two before that. Someone told the police that's where he was.
Who is this that moved in? Your son?
No, it was the owner of the house. It was their daughter's boyfriend. So my son was just spending the night with me. We were just spending some time together because he missed me. So
I'll tell you what I like, Darren, if it's possible. Could you give her my phone number?
Yeah, I definitely will do that.
Yeah, because then I can hear her better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hearing bits and pieces. I hear about a son. I hear about a warrant. I hear about the police. I hear about CPS, and I'm not hearing the whole full story because it's not coming clear on the microphone.
You can't hear us, Robert?
It's kind of choppy.
Right. Well, the whole point was what we were talking about is the fact that her lawyer gave her 9 months to do everything that she was supposed to with a 15-year-old kid that had been with his mom her whole life, never done anything wrong, no previous CPS anything. Because she's at the wrong place at the wrong time, that's grounds for her to lose her kid? Makes no sense. Like, this is the destruction that these people cause. Up until this point, this kid had nobody but his mom.
He was devastated when they took him. Devastated.
I would like to know what the warrant was for.
I don't even know what it was for that kid. I don't know.
Well, since this period of time, they took your son out on a warrant. I mean, they took the other kid out for a warrant. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was an adult. So they took him
So
to prison, I think. I don't know.
hasn't there been some discussion about what the warrant was for from the other kid regarding the other kid?
I mean, I guess there were some allegations. I don't know. I was just so upset because he was laughing the whole time it was happening. And meanwhile, I'm losing my child, and this kid's laughing, and it's because of him. But I
So
don't know.
CPS, because the cops called CPS and said, "Look, there's a kid here with his mom in this situation," and that's why they had come. Like, it was just the cops didn't have to call about that.
Yeah, they thought it was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And one of the detectives, I knew him from 20 years ago. I used to work with his wife, and we used to play softball together. And anyways, we were talking at the table in the kitchen, just kind of catching up. And the lead on the case walked by him and was like, "Why are you talking to this piece of shit?" And he's like, "Hey, she's not a piece of shit. She's a good person." And he's like, "Not if she's here, she's not." Well, sorry, it was winter and my options were limited, so.
But see, that's the thing is, life happens to people, and this is mandated reporting. But what's the mandated report there? Why would the police need to call CPS?
We're literally putting our shoes on to leave. I voluntarily let them search my vehicle. I let them search my person, my room, nothing. I could not leave.
When they came to the door, they knocked on the door, and they say they have a warrant, or they just walked in the house.
Came in. They actually broke a window coming in.
Oh, so there was no knock?
Nope. Not that I know of. I was on the floor, but we were getting ready to walk out the door.
So then you don't know whether they knocked and nobody answered the door, or they did a no-knock warrant.
I was told it was a no-knock warrant. They said, because everybody was shocked that they were there.
Okay, so they had a no-knock warrant to go after this other kid. That's a friend of your son. So in other words, if that kid wasn't in your house, the police would not have been there.
He was not my son's friend. He was my son's friend, his sister's boyfriend. It's very common, so my son's friend's Jaden, right?
The son's friend's sister's boyfriend. Okay, so your son's friend's sister's boyfriend. I got that.
Yeah.
Okay, your son's friend's sister's boyfriend. Okay, so the boyfriend was at the house. Yep. Do you know if the boyfriend has ever served any time? In other words, was he ever charged with misdemeanor or felony before?
I don't know if he was charged with anything. I don't think he had served any time prior to this. I know he has since.
Has he been in trouble with the police?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, if they're going to come in the house, I didn't even know the kid, honestly. I mean, who am I to tell them who they can live in their house, So that's why I just kept my son with me upstairs and said, "Listen, if you need to leave the room or go to the bathroom, I'm going to go with you." And I did that. We watched movies and cuddled all day. They kept calling us queers because we were snuggling at 15.
And this was your house?
No.
This was your house?
No, it was somewhere I was staying. His best friend's parents' house.
Who your son's best friend's parents' house?
Right.
Okay, your son's best friend parents' house. I got that. Okay, and he broke the window of your son's best friend's parents' house.
Right, to come in and get the boy.
To take out. Yeah, to come in and take the young man who is related to the girlfriend
Was the-
of the other person.
Right. I know. It's we're all related somehow.
It's not complicated to me. It's not that complicated to me. It's just that I think there's more to the picture. I think there's more to this story.
But why does CPS come against her? Do you understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
I'm renting a room upstairs, totally separate from everything. I have my own lock and everything. And they took everybody downstairs and took my son. Actually, they sat him down at the table next to a pile of drugs first, and then let him sit there. And then when I came in the room, I said, "Excuse me, can someone please remove whatever that is in front of my child?" And they did, but the police
That's
did.
So you said there was a pile of drugs that they removed. I mean, they had sitting in front of your son.
Yeah, it was on the kitchen table on a DVD case, and they sat my son at the chair right next to it.
Okay. Is this the drugs that they went around the house looking for,
I
maybe?
assume though from the kid, they were all downstairs. He was living in the living room. It was all downstairs. So we were upstairs, and then they down into whatever.
So the civilian term you would use is they were doing a drug raid.
Yeah,
It was a drug raid.
yeah, because that kid.
So that kid that they were going after with the warrant was somebody that had their eyeballs on for dealing with drugs.
Probably, yeah. I heard somebody got in trouble and ratted him out for being there or something. I don't. Honestly, after they took my son, that's all I really focused on. You know, other than that kid's a jerk. You know,
Okay. Well, the fact that your son was there, we call that acting in concert.
acting in concert.
That's yep. In other words, the son is 15 years old, right?
Right.
So there's a minor that's around this person who has drugs, so they can arrest your son too, but rather than do that, they contact the CPS.
So around me, okay, so if everybody's renting a room and you have a locked room and you're on a different floor and you're not commingling and not interacting with one another, you're still acting in concert?
The whole house goes.
That's awful.
They got a search warrant for that house. They got a search warrant for the house. In other words, if let's say, for example, the bad guy that was there, the bad kid that was there, stole a refrigerator. When they enter that house, they're looking for a refrigerator. They wouldn't go through drawers. They wouldn't go into small closets. They're looking for a place where a refrigerator can sit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which also goes to, if they're looking for drugs, they could go to crevices in the couch. They could take down pictures off the wall. They could go everywhere for drugs.
Right, but I figured where I have a locked door and I voluntarily let you search my vehicle, my room, my person, and you found nothing, and then you're.
No, you should have. You should have volunteered. You didn't have to volunteer. You could have said that. You have a warrant to search my car. You have a warrant to search my room. Otherwise, no.
My innocent. I'm trying to save my son at that point. You know, I thought maybe if I cooperated with them, went the extra mile a little, they'd leave my child alone. But that, and then when we did go to court, the police officer who testified on the stand told the exact everything that happened. He said the exact opposite, and so I just didn't even testify because I let the record stand on its own, because there were several other police officers there who also submitted reports who his testimony would contradict with, so it would nullify his lack of credibility or whatever when they reviewed his testimony. So that I guess went in my favor, but and ended up that I needed to find a place to live and a job during COVID quarantine, and I had a very small timeline to do it.
Instead of giving her.
Gotcha.
And no assistance. Yeah.
Darren, give her my phone number.
I will do that, Herbert.
I like dog.
I will, Herbert. I will give her your phone number, and I'll have her get in touch with you after the show.
Okay.
And then you guys can see what you can farm up. What do you think, Herbert? See, that's just another situation where here it is, just life happens to someone, and that's grounds to lose your child. You know, like this, that makes no sense. It doesn't, but it's happening all the time.
What I'm trying to do when I talk to her on the phone is I'm trying to figure out the connection between the kid they were after with the warrant and the son,
Now,
because there may be a connection.
there's
Because the person that gave up that other kid may have, you also used your son's name too.
no way. My son had never, no, there was no connection between them. He hated that kid. No connection.
So was the girlfriend there?
The girlfriend was there.
Okay. Now was the boy, was he arrested?
Yes.
Okay. The boy was arrested for drugs.
Yes.
For the drugs.
I don't think they found any drugs on. I don't know. He was arrested though. I know that much.
Well, there were drugs in a house
I think
that was on a
maybe
table.
that was what was on his person. I don't know. They ended up getting a bunch of counterfeit money. I know that much from him. So they arrested him on that. I know that.
Wait, there were drugs that was placed on a table.
Yes. I don't know where those came from.
That they probably searched. They searched around the house for.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it was all downstairs, and I realized that's a close proximity. And had I known that kid was even who he was, I would have not had my son there. But
still, it's a life situation. Like, come on, like that's no reason to take your 15 years of being an impeccable record of being a mother because one situation happens and it's not like you're sitting in the downstairs doing
for Christ's sakes.
I know you're sitting downstairs with drugs with everybody who on around. It's no business to call CPS.
Well, what's confusing to me is with the drugs that they didn't take you too. Mom. I don't know why they didn't take mom.
Well, obviously they didn't find drugs in her area or her person. Something was believable enough to not take those, right? Wouldn't that be it?
Oh, truthfully, they would have taken me if they could have.
Yes, fact.
See, they took your son by referring him to CPS.
Right.
They did that.
With my brother.
But since there was drugs in the house, I don't understand why they didn't take you too, except for they had a warrant for that one guy.
They took every adult in that house except for me.
Whoa. So they took other adults, but not
They
you.
all had
So
failure to appears and stupid stuff, but they took every adult out of that house except for me.
wait. So those other adults had something going on against them.
Yeah, failure to.
They were warrants against the adults.
But they made it sound like it was a big drug bust or a big drug sweep, but really those people in the article said failure to appear warrant, KPS, that type of thing. It was just that one.
Well, that's why I want to talk. That's why I want to talk to you on the phone, because I didn't hear that in the beginning about warrants against the other people. You didn't mention that.
Well, I didn't really think it was relevant, but.
Well, yeah, because they didn't take you. So I'm wondering, and the reason why, because you didn't have a warrant.
Right. I didn't have any warrants, and I didn't have anything to do with anything that was going on there. That's why I let them search my things, because I wanted to prove to them that I was not involved in whatever. This is just a pit stop for me because I had no other option, and it was negative degrees outside.
But it's identical to your son. He too had nothing to do with anything. So why? Yep. And you're there. You are the parent. You're the parent. So why call CPS when the parent is right there?
Right. Because
that's what's not adding up for me.
Because they said I was a piece.
Now it would be different if, let's say, you, the parent, were not there.
Right.
You were not there.
I was.
And your son, 15 years old, was there.
In fact, I was standing in front of my son while they were trying to get us to come down, just telling him, my son is behind me, please, and they were just yelling at me to come down the stairs. Come down the stairs. They didn't care.
And you're the parent. So I don't understand why they can't just give your son to you, the parent.
Because they had other plans.
There it is. That's the question.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the question, and then the way she was treated in court, the way that they just quickly, I've never even 9 months on what situation, what investigation did they even have on that? None. Like, you had a life situation that happened. They take the kid immediately for imminent danger. 9 months later, you're in court for this and gone. A 15-year-old.
They adopted.
Have Have you ever had any dealings with CPS at all with your son? Anything?
Yes, 4 months before this, CPS was in my home because my daughter was assaulted, and the woman told me I was doing everything right. She didn't even open a case.
Yeah. Give me a call so I can hear it better.
Okay.
That's it. But that's it. That's the way that CPS works, Herbert.
Yeah, they just.
There's just no reason. There's no reason for what they did. There's no reason for them to go in and shoot. You can slap someone on the wrist. You can say whatever. Yeah, money. Right. It's a quick adoption. They get paid for every adoption that they make. 9 months and a 12-month spit. You know what? That's even unheard of. It's a quick TPR for someone who just had life happen, man. It sucks, and that's what they do. So this woman needs some justice.
I see.
We need to find this some justice. We're gonna put some lawsuits on these people because it wasn't right. And now look at what does she deal with? She deals with her kid's 18 years old and he wants nothing to do with it. It's crazy.
And he was a mama's boy.
So your son has been put in foster care?
He was, and then he was adopted by the foster care at 17.
Whoa. Wait. He went into foster care, then he was adopted?
By the foster parent at 17.
So, okay. Why weren't you reunified with your son?
Because
Why were you not?
I wasn't able to meet the 9-month time frame that they gave me to get a home, to get a house and a job during quarantine.
Oh, okay.
And there was deference given to that.
Okay.
Not right, man, at all.
So you didn't meet the minimum requirements to take your son back, so that's why they
because they want.
And how many months was it? How many months was it that the child went into foster care to the time that it got adopted?
It was like a little over a year. I don't know exactly the months count on it, but.
Well, they move faster than that because I know a lot of kids that are in foster care and they've been in foster care for almost 2 years.
They moved. I guess there was a law in New Hampshire that said that from the time a child is taken to the end of the case, it's got to be a year. Just before my case, because I knew a lot of people that were losing their kids left and right for ridiculous reasons because time had lapsed. And it was like, are you kidding me? You're going to give me a time limit on fixing my life for my family? And even if you're progressing in the right direction, it doesn't matter. You have to have everything nailed down by 9 months or they won't even consider it.
12% reunification rate. Don't forget that number, man. That's it. That tells you right there that they're freaking liars, man. If they get a hold of your kid, you're not getting them back. But Herbert, we're over our time, buddy. I'll have Michelle give you a holler.
Yes.
You can chat with her a little bit and see what you can come up with.
Yeah, tell her give me a call tonight.
I will do. Hey, Michelle, give Herbert a call.
All right, no problem.
All right, Herbert. Thanks, Michelle. All right. Do my thing here. All right. So, people, that's it. You just see tonight. That's just another case of CPS putting their nose in everybody else's business for no reason, ruining families and doing the things that they do. There's no reason for this stuff. There's no reason for them to be infiltrating the American family just because life happened to people. It's wrong. It's not right. I know for a fact that this woman was a good mom. I know for a fact that her child loved her up until this point, and because of what CPS has said, what they've done, it's turned this family into turmoil and nowhere near what it used to be. So, guys, pay attention to what you're doing because CPS is coming for your kids. I'm CPS Punter. I'm out of here.